Hey everyone, this is Aaron Cole with Motor Authority here in Palm Springs, California, and I'm here to walk you through the 2018 Audi S5. And obviously this is all new. It's a two-door coupe. It's based on the S4, which is coming at the same time. These are on sale right now. They hit dealers about a week ago or so. So yeah, these cars are on the road. But let's take a walk around. Let's take a look around, and we'll walk you through this car. Make sure to ask any questions that you have in the comments, and I'll be sure to answer them as best that I can. We've had a little bit of limited time behind the wheel here, and so I can tell you a little bit about how it drives and how it feels, but let's just get to the details. Under the hood here is a new, I think it's 354 horsepower, I could be wrong on that, twin scroll turbocharged V6. And it's a new 3-liter V6 for Audi. And it's one that Audi actually has built for this car, and they're using a version of it in the RS5 that we saw in Geneva. But this one is, like I said, it's all new. It replaces the supercharged unit, and it's a hot V setup, which is basically what most automakers have been doing. And it places the turbos in between the V's, and Audi does a little bit of little magic, feeding the right bank of cylinders before the left bank of cylinders, which they say kind of reduces turbo lag. And I can tell you behind the wheel, it does. The power's pretty immediate. That's a quick delivery. So whatever magic that they've done there, it works. From prior experience in the S6, S7, and S8, which used a turbo V8, a different engine, kind of the same idea. Audi's kind of nailed this turbocharged plan pretty well. The power is quick. The torque curve is pretty flat from around 1,500 RPM to about 4,000 RPM. And it always feels like the power is available. Obviously, this isn't going to be as savage as the RS model will be. The RS model hasn't been confirmed yet for the US, but we have a feeling if you wait just a minute, you'll probably hear that it's coming to the US. That V6, that turbocharged V6 is mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and it's a typical 8-speed auto. It's made by ZF, if that matters to you. And it's different than the S-tronic dual clutch setup that we've seen from Audi in the past. The 8-speed here is actually related pretty closely to the RS7's 8-speed. So it's a performance version. They know how to tune a transmission to make it work quickly. It includes launch control, so if you really need to sprint up the line, you're more than welcome to do that. The 8-speed can handle all the twist. It'll run up to 60 miles an hour in 4.4 seconds. That's according to Audi. It's really deceptive, based on our kind of butt dyno, how quick the car is, because it's really flat, it's really composed, and part of that is the all-wheel drive system, and part of that is kind of Audi's MO. That's what they do. It's deceptively fast. But this, you can see that Audi's kind of taking a different approach here. And the RS models, I think, will compete with the M4, M3, M4, and the C63, whereas this is more of a C43 competitor and a 340i competitor. We recently had experience in the C43 coupe, and we're going to have a story on that later, so we won't spoil the ending. But you're really talking about two different cars, and so it's certainly pretty. There's no getting around it. The last gen S5 was kind of one of those watershed cars, at least as far as I'm concerned. It was created by Walter de Silva, and I think it's going to go down as one of the prettiest cars we've seen in a long time. This is not a huge departure. Obviously, it has some minor differences, and we'll go over those. One of those differences that's immediately noticeable is this C-pillar right here. It's a thicker C-pillar, and that's unique to the coupe. Obviously, there's a cabrio version, there's a convertible version, and then there's going to be a sportback version, which has been confirmed for the US. So that fat C-pillar, I think, makes the coupe really stand out. And to be honest, coupes are slow sellers. And so there's a legitimate question as to whether or not we'll ever see an A5 or an S5 coupe here after this generation. But for now, we should enjoy it while it's here. The other thing that's different than the last gen car is this character line. I don't know if you can see that. You can see where my finger is. It's really sharp. It goes all the way down the body of the car. And in this light, it might be a little hard to see, but it creates a shadow just right underneath the door here. And in the right light, that's really dramatic. And it's a subtle, it looks subtle, but it actually has a lot of weight to it. It makes the S5, A5 look really sharp. The other thing that it does is it hides the shunt line. Jason's asking if the RS5 is coming soon. Yes, it is. We saw the RS5 in Geneva. It hasn't been yet confirmed for the US, but I think if you wait around about a week or so, you might hear that it's coming. But an RS5 does exist. If you check motorauthority.com, search RS5, you're going to see our story, you're going to see our photos. And I saw that car in person in Geneva. It looks great. The other thing that's unique to the S5 is this power dome here. And that's on the hood, kind of gives a more aggressive presence on the road. And the nose has been turned down from the last gen a little bit. It looks better to me. I like the nose a lot more than the last gen. I like it on this one. This has a smaller single frame grille, and it's kind of pitched. Jason is asking horsepower and quarter mile specs. Horsepower we're at 354, 0 to 64.4. You can figure out the quarter mile from there. Bill asking for a test drive. Jason's asking what motor does it come with. It's a turbo V6. So hopefully that answers your question. Bill, I think you were asking for a test drive. You can probably go to your dealer right now and test drive one if you really want to. Or you can just come meet me in Palm Springs and drive it yourself. Bill, if you find me, we should do that. Zach, great question. Starting price. This S5 Coupe starts at around $54,000. That's including destination. And it's about $4,000 more than the base price for an S4. There's actually a lot of impressive standard equipment. Pat, you're asking about the interior. We're going to get to that, I promise. And so there's a lot of standard equipment. One of those is these big brakes. 6-piston caliper fronts. It's a fixed six-piston caliper, which is massive stopping power. The other thing that's standard on this car is this. They call it an alu something or other, but it's basically aluminum paint. Really actually adds a lot of class to the front end. And I actually kind of like it. The other thing that's included is these headlamps, which obviously it's high noon here, but it's in a different shape than the S4, and it looks great. All right, let's get to the interior. Shabazz, we're going to do it. Patrick, this is for you. So let's take a look at the interior. As you can see, this is the coupe version, but it's not a huge departure from the S4, which is the sedan. We'll start it up here. You can see it has virtual cockpit. That's included with navigation. Let's turn the radio down. It's beeping at me. So we've got the standard virtual cockpit set up here, where you can add nav on the left screen, information that you want, including destination information on the right-hand screen. You can change the view so it's more nav. It's a similar setup that was in the R8, A4. Audi's had it around for a while. It looks great. Here's the Mmi controller. You can see nav changes to nav, telephone, media. This is optional leather, quilted, and it's fairly expensive. Let's take a look at the price here. This setup is all included. This car is $64,750. That includes $575 for the gray paint outside. This magma red interior is included, but the Napa leather that this car is fitted with, that's $1,250 extra. The S Sport package, which includes the brake calipers, adaptive suspension, which is new for the S4 and the S5 this year, that's $2,500, and a sport rear differential, which is also new. That's included in that package. We also have 19-inch wheels. That's $800. And carbon Atlas inlays. That's this thing. I don't know if you can see the carbon material on that, but that's an extra $500. So that's how we get to $64,750. And like I said, a comparable S4 would be about $3,000 to $4,000 less. So you guys can do the math. The S5 Sportback, I'm not entirely sure on the pricing on that, but I would imagine that that's going to be a little bit more. So you can see, here's the automatic transmission. This is your drive select controller, and as you can see, cup holders always in the way there. Traction control, parking assistance. Here's your climate controls, which are touch sensitive, and it's nice, it's responsive, and it works, but it's also, it seems like a solution in search of a problem. It's, you know, you get a dial here and a dial here, but there's no fan dial. There's just, it's very intricate, very tech savvy, but it's at the end of the day, it's still climate control. You know, all of these surfaces are actually nice. This is a nice soft plastic. There's a lot of Alcantara on the seat. You can see those inserts, and it's a lot of gray. It's a lot of black. Thankfully, kind of along the handles, you get some red contrast stitching, and that kind of breaks it up. The system sounds great. Like I said, driving it is, it's a different animal. It's a lot more sedate than, we'll say, the C43. It's been a while since I've driven a 340, so it's kind of hard for me to make a fair comparison there, but I will shortly, so I can probably do that a little bit better. But I will say that, you know, the S4 is just, S5, excuse me, is just sneaky fast. It doesn't feel as fast as it is. And that's either a good thing or a bad thing. I will say that the C43 includes an active exhaust that's really dramatic. I mean, it spits and it crackles, and while this has a relatively decent engine note for a V6, it's not as menacing. It doesn't feel as savage as it probably could, and I would imagine that that would be exactly what the RS5 is about. But we haven't driven that car, so it's hard to know. Let's borrow my friend Phil here, and we'll rev it up, because I know everybody wants to hear what the exhaust sounds like from the quad tailpipes. So we're gonna borrow Phil. Hey Phil, can you rev the engine? Phil's gonna come rev the engine for me. As you can see, we've got quad tailpipes in the back. That's kind of awesome. Feel free to let me know if you guys have any questions. Thanks, Phil. That's the engine now. Can you pop the hood for me? Take a look at the engine. There we go. So there it is, Audi's new 3-liter V6. Twin scroll turbocharging, lives right in the center of the V there. Like I said, it feeds one of the banks before the other banks, so it helps reduce the turbo lag. What are the specs? That's a great question. Let's go through it again. Again, it's a 3-liter turbocharged V6. Makes 354 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque. And like I said, that torque curve is pretty flat. It comes on at about 1,500 RPM and lasts all the way to 4,000 RPM. I'm not exactly sure when peak horsepower kicks in, but I would imagine it's pretty close to 45 to 5,000 RPM. Ogden, you're right, it's not a bad sound. Audi didn't mention anything specifically about artificial generated noise. I believe that it's probably not maybe a little intake when coming from the mic. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. We'll be sure to answer them now if we can, or we'll just leave them in the comments. Like I said, we're going to have a video coming on Motor Authority. We'll also have a full drive review on Motor Authority, so be sure to check those out. How much is it? This coupe This particular example is close to $65,000. And earlier in the video we did a rundown of, I know, I'm sorry, it's windy, of all the options. Let me come inside. They start at about 55. The S4 starts at about 51. They're pretty equally optioned, or they're probably equal with standard equipment. But the S4 is about $3,000 less. Not entirely sure about the Sportback pricing, but I would imagine that the Sportback pricing is going to be maybe a couple grand more than the S5, but I'm not entirely clear on that. Rather have an Infiniti Q Red Sport for less and more power. You're right, the Q50 Red has more power, but it's a different delivery. This is more immediate. That 400 horsepower in the Red Sport comes on pretty high in the rev range, and it doesn't come with the same standard equipment. I will say that. I mean, I've driven the Infiniti quite a bit, and I would almost say that this is just a little bit more refined, but that could be a matter of personal preference. If there's no other questions, guys, I think I'm going to sign off for a little bit. We'll close the hood, and I'll leave you with a look at the car. Make sure to leave any questions that you have in the comment field, and I'll be sure to answer them as soon as I can. Like I said, check out the first drive review, the video on Motor Authority. We'll have a story up shortly. Hey, and thanks for watching. Have a great day, guys.